Dragon is one of the coolest types in the Pokemon Trading Card Game, especially for the format Gym Leader Challenge. Despite having a smaller than average card pool, the type has quite a few strong strategies. In this video, I want to highlight a particular strategy that revolves around Turboblaze Reshiram. If you want to learn more about Gym Leader Challenge, or GLC, you can check out gymleaderchallenge.com to understand the rules and commonly played cards. Let's start with Reshiram and its ability Turboblaze. Once during your turn, before your attack, if this Pokemon is your active Pokemon, you may attach a Fire Energy card from your hand to one of your Dragon Pokemon. Turboblaze only activates when Reshiram is in the active spot, and Reshiram itself is not a good attacker. Still, the ability is great because it accelerates Fire Energy into play. 3 attackers pair well with Turboblaze: Regidrago, Druddigon, and Drampa. Regidrago has the attack Giant Fangs, which requires 1 Fire, 1 Grass, and 1 Colorless Energy. As a reminder, colorless energy can be satisfied with any color of energy. Turboblaze can help satisfy the fire energy requirement in this attack cost. Regidrago is also useful for its ability Dragon's Horde, which provides this type with some much needed draw power. Druddigon has 2 useful attacks. Revenge deals 160 damage after one of your Pokemon was knocked out last turn, and it only requires 2 energy. In other situations, its second attack Dragon Claw is better. Both attacks require a fire energy and synergize with Turboblaze. Druddigon is mostly used as a revenge attacker, and it remains a threat even if your opponent can't knock it out. There are 2 solid versions of Drampa. Berserk Drampa is good and it only requires 2 energy to attack, but I think Dragon Arcana Drampa makes more sense with Turboblaze. If it has basic energy of different types attached, Drampa can deal 140 damage with Dragon Arcana, making it a consistent attacker. I added Dragonite to the deck to fix some of the deck's consistency issues. Fast Call lets you search the deck for a supporter card like Professor's Research, Guzma, and Hala. I also added Garchomp because Sonic Slip can prevent your opponent from attacking for a whole turn and gives the deck more comeback potential. Energy is one of the biggest concerns with Dragon decks because each Pokemon requires different energy. Thankfully, Dragon decks can take advantage of one of the best energy cards ever printed, Double Dragon Energy, which provides 2 energy of any type for Dragon Pokemon. Rainbow Energy is also useful because it provides 1 energy of any color. Guzma and Hala is one of the few cards that can search for special energy and makes it easier to set up attacks. I added Special Charge to recover special energy cards from the discard pile to use them multiple times. For basic energy, I added at least 1 energy corresponding to each main attacker. Regidrago uses Grass Energy, Garchomp uses Fighting Energy, and Druddigon and Garchomp both use Water Energy. I didn't add Lightning Energy for Dragonite because I rarely use it as an attacker. Since Turboblaze is the main theme of the deck, I added 4 Fire Energy to use the ability multiple times per game. Professor's Letter, Earthen Vessel, and Viridian Forest allow me to find specific basic energy. No matter which Pokemon is in the active spot, Turbo Energize makes it easy to set up the attackers even though there's only 1 copy of some of the basic energies. When a Pokemon is knocked out, it and any attached energy go to the discard pile. To use the same energy multiple times, I added Raihan, Mela, Clara, and Training Court to the deck. Raihan and Mela accelerate energy into play to directly set up attackers, while Clara and Training Court can get fire energy into hand for Turboblaze. Even with all of these cards, setting up new attackers each turn is difficult. One way to mitigate this is to prevent your opponent from taking one-hit knockouts. Luxurious Cape is perhaps the best option to make your dragons tankier. Since this deck has many basic attackers, Cape of Toughness, Bravery Charm, and Fighting Fury Belt are all good options. I went with Cape of Toughness to maximize survivability, but I think the other options are worth testing or adding if there is deck space. The rest of the deck is set aside for consistency and tech cards. Nest Ball, Quick Ball, and Stormy Mountains make it easy to put basic dragons into play, and Hisuian Heavy Ball can find basic Pokemon in case any are prized. Mysterious Treasure and Ultra Ball can search for any Dragon Pokemon, and Lance is a supporter that searches the deck for any 3 Dragon Pokemon. Tag Call makes it easier to find Guzma and Hala. Since Tag Call searches for 2 tag team cards, I also added Cynthia and Caitlin, which can recover a supporter card from the discard pile and draw 3 cards. Town Map is useful in cases where Double Dragon Energy or some other useful card is prized, which happens a lot. There are plenty of staple cards to add: Guzma, Boss's Orders, Professor's Research, Cynthia, N, Marnie, Arvin, Field Blower, Escape Rope, Rescue Stretcher, VS Seeker, and Floatstone. Trainer's Mail and Pokegear 3.0 are added for additional consistency. Because Turboblaze only activates in the active spot, I added some switch cards in Bird Keeper and Scoop of Net. With the extra 2 deck spaces, I added Parallel City and Evolution Incense. Parallel City can disrupt your opponent's bench, and Evolution Incense can search for Gabite or Dragonite without needing to discard any cards. Let's talk about the strengths and weaknesses of this deck. Most of the Pokemon in this deck have large hit point values and can deal a lot of damage in return. Also, Double Dragon Energy is amazing because it turns every Pokemon into an attacker. The strategies of this deck are easy to set up and pull off. Unfortunately, this deck is prone to mulligan. There are only 6 basic Dragon Pokemon, so there's a high chance of not seeing a Dragon Pokemon in your starting 7 cards. On average, your opponents will have more cards than you before starting either player's first turn. Faba and Enhanced Hammer can be problems for this deck since they remove Double Dragon Energy. Thankfully, most decks do not play these cards, but it's something to consider against decks like Lost Zone Psychic. Finally, big Pokemon like Wailord can be a problem for this deck. Without damage modifiers, this deck is capped at 160 damage with Regidrago and Garchomp. Let's go over some tips for playing this deck. Number 1. Play aggressively for Turbo Energize. Both Arven and Guzma and Hala can help you do so. Let's say you're going second and have Guzma and Hala in hand. Play it to get Stormy Mountains, Turbo Energize, and Double Dragon Energy. You are guaranteed to start the game with a basic Pokemon in the active position, which is likely to be one of your attackers. Stormy Mountains puts another attacker on your bench. Attach Turbo Energize and Double Dragon Energy to the active Pokemon, and use Turbo Energize to search for energy corresponding to the attacker on the bench. The result is that you have 2 attackers set up going into the next turn. Arven can be played in a similar way. Instead of Stormy Mountains and Double Dragon Energy, Arven can search for Nest Ball or Professor's Letter, whichever one fits the situation. Number 2. Try to get Floatstone on Reshiram. Making Reshiram a pivot Pokemon with free retreat lets you take full advantage of its ability. Number 3. Raihan and Mela set up any of your attackers without much setup. You have 1 free energy attachment from hand per turn. Reshiram gives you an additional fire energy attachment, and Raihan or Mela accelerate a 3rd energy. This is enough to prepare the 3 main attackers Regidrago, Druddigon, and Drampa. Overall, Reshiram has a cool ability in Turboblaze, and I've had fun building and playing with this deck. That said, this deck still has room to improve and evolve with new sets, and it is just one of several viable strategies for the Dragon type. I hope you all enjoyed this deck list and learned something new. I'm trying to showcase a wide range of strategies for GLC, so stay tuned. As always, thanks for watching, and until next time, bop!